Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zawadi M's channel, you guys. Today is going to be a very interesting live show. So if you are just coming from work, welcome to this channel, and if you are new, you are also still very welcome here. Let's see. You guys, technical difficulties, okay? Just bear with me. Bear with me, okay? We're gonna figure this thing out. Okay. Anyway, so how are you today? How are you? How are you today?
Doing great, can't complain.
We're finally on, guys. We're finally on. So, if you guys are new to this channel, please subscribe. We have a very distinguished guest. Let me start speaking of the book because I heard that he speaks a lot of big books. So, we are all here today for that, in addition to other things. Anyway, welcome to the channel. Please introduce yourself to the audience and we proceed.
My name is George Titus Tobo, veteran staff sergeant, United States Marine Corps,
Mm-hmm.
yailing from
Sino County.
Sino County, in the house, Liberia.
Yes. It's really good to have you on here. I know we've had different conversations on here. So I recently started something called Dear Liberians. But before we get to that, how long have you been away from Sino? Have you gone recently?
Well, I'm in and out. Um, it's been quite a while since I went to Sino,
Mm-hmm.
probably 3 years, maybe, because I
Okay.
came in for a short time
Mm-hmm.
and skip out. But during deployment, I made one or two visits over there.
Okay, to sign up. So what I mean, do you have any memories to share about Sino? Because we have some viewers here from Sino County, and my dad is actually from Sino, so he does watch my channel.
Well,
Excited.
I hope people don't take me to be biased, but looking at the entire Liberian community, Sano is the best counties. So
I
what can
disagree.
I say? You see the
I disagree.
beaches, the people, you can't complain. It's the best.
You
I
know.
was opportune to have, I graduated from Booker T, Washington.
Okay.
And, with Booker T, they usually send you out for internship. So I
Okay.
was opportune to have done my internship at the African Fruit Company in Sino.
Okay.
So I was able to navigate the county, and
Okay.
it was a good time.
Because of your internship, so that's why you think it's the best county. I disagree because I was born in Maryland. I think Maryland County is the best because a lot of things. And then my parents are from Grand Creek County, so obviously think both counties are the best. But
Hey,
anyway,
the best is in the hands of the beholder, I guess.
it is. But at the end of the day, we are Liberians, and so we're still the best. So that's very important. Anyway, so you guys, if you're new here, I'm here with Mr. George Tavis Tobo, and you give us a little bit of background for what you do here in the U.S. and since you came from Sino County, okay?
Well, I don't know where to start, but I came on the resettlement program, a program that was instituted by the U.S. government
Mm-hmm.
due to the silver carnage in our country, Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
And I got here, I had to put plans into play
Mm-hmm.
because without proper planning, life becomes unbearable.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first thing I had to do is to work 3 jobs for a year.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And then the next year, I knew that the fall of the next year, I had to go to school. So I put into perspective everything that was needed to have me accepted at Georgia Tech. And
Okay.
so I
Okay.
went to Georgia Tech, enrolled electrical engineering,
Okay.
and I saw the Air Force ROTC. I fell in love with the sky blue, but I couldn't fly. because of my eyes. So because
Ah,
I actually wanted to fly one of those F-16s,
okay.
but I couldn't make it, so I switched to the Marine Corps.
Okay, so you went to the Marine Corps. Okay, okay. So did you do engineering there, or like what did you do there?
Yes, I did electrical engineering
Mm-hmm.
at Georgia
Okay.
Tech, and later left and got a job with the telecommunication company known as Bell South at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a curious person, wanted to understand the dynamics
Okay.
on those backbones that the telecommunication work on. And
Okay.
so I had to enroll to um, Southern Poly, which is now Kansas State, and did
Mm-hmm.
telecommunication, and
Okay.
that helps a lot.
Okay. So you obviously very smart guy. So you moved from Sino and then you came to the United States. Okay. What? So you worked 3 jobs after you came over here. Why was it so important for you to foster your education? You know, as a Liberian, somebody who struggle, and then you came here, you're like, I need to do better.
Education, I always tell people, is the key
Mm-hmm.
to success,
Okay.
especially for someone who find themselves coming from the dungeon of poverty.
Okay.
And in order for you to elevate yourself from mat to mattress,
Hmm.
you must seek education.
Okay.
So my experience with 3 jobs in this country, making $5.15,
Hmm.
6.15, and
Hmm.
10, I knew to myself, I said, no, this ain't for me.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
And because I never had any mentor, I would have gone
Hmm.
into the medical field.
Okay.
But I'm satisfied
Okay.
that I choose engineering.
Okay.
And so it's not easy. You have to make a lot of sacrifices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once you set your goal,
Right.
there will be distractions,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to shut them out.
Right.
You
Right.
got to push.
Hmm.
And so I know being an engineer, I will become comfortable, at least a middle class citizen.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I will live a life that I know I'm able to provide for my family.
Okay.
And so I took on that task. And furthermore, as someone who loved math and physics, that's my area.
Ah. Okay. 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 If I mean, you know, when I was in college, I took physics, Newton third law, all these things, vertex, all this, you know, like, but I don't, it's not practical for me because I'm not in the engineering field. So, you know, it's fascinating to know. But so when Liberians come here, right, someone like you didn't have any excuses like, oh, I just came from a war torn country. I don't have any family or support. Let me just go and seek something that not that I don't want to do, but something that will help me to really develop and make an impact. Or were you thinking more like just your family, or how you going to make an impact to Liberia when you pick this electrical engineering field?
Well, I was looking at it from both perspective.
Okay.
First of all, I have to look at myself.
Okay.
That's the first step,
Mm-hmm.
because self-perseverance in life is what counts.
Mm.
Then I have to look at my family.
Right.
What would this career do for my family?
Mm-hmm.
Then I have to look at my country of birth.
Hmm.
What can I do
Mm.
for that country?
LIB.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So family, and then where you came from. There is nowhere like home. So now it brings me to our conversation of Dear Liberians. I've decided to start this series on Dear Liberians to drive positivity within our community, because oftentimes you hear people put down, you know, put the country down, and it's actually really discouraging to some of us. So I wanted to start this so that we can drive that positive spirit within our community. So this specific topic is, we know there are barriers in Liberia, okay, and even doing things in Liberia. But how can we remove, or how can we help separate those barriers to what we need to accomplish in the country, in your opinion?
Well, from my perspective, I will look at the act of realism.
Okay. Tell us more.
You have to be real with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And besides that, we have to incorporate the saying of John F. Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy said, ask not what, quote unquote, not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Absolutely.
When you incorporate such a statement, when you incorporate such an element in your life,
Mm.
your goal is not focused on corruption.
Mm.
Your goal is not focused on issues that are indeed incompatible with common human decency.
Okay.
Your goal would be focused on your country. How can I
Mm.
elevate my country?
Huh.
How can I look at my country in comparison with other countries? You know, history will tell you
Mm.
that Liberia is indeed the first independent country on the continent of Africa
Mm.
since Ethiopia went into slavery in 2000, in the year 2000. I mean 200 BC.
Mm.
But look at our development today. Look where we are in terms of education.
Mm.
Look where we are in terms of development.
Mm.
So unless we incorporate those ideology of John F. Kennedy, putting country first,
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid we will continue to sink into the state of degradation. So we
Mm.
need realists like you,
Huh.
like myself,
Absolutely.
putting into perspective those ingredients and go out there knowing fully well we can say to corruption Abbas, we can say to nepotism, wrap them in a box and put them into the sea of oblivion sea.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can look at our country just as we look at our kids.
Mm-hmm.
When we raise our kids, we want everything good for them. So it's the same mentality we have to institute in terms of bringing Liberia up the map.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for everything you've said. Honestly, just it just it shook my spirit because this is something I've been preaching for a long time. So somebody's asking, so with that said, what are you, Mr. Joy? What are you doing for Liberia? Because I mean, you just had the quote of John F. K, right? What are you doing for Liberia as an electrical engineer?
Where currently I value the issues of education.
Okay.
And because of that, I had about 10 students
Okay.
on my scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
anything ranging from high school to college.
Okay.
I only asked them to do me a justice.
Mm.
3.0.
3.0 GPA.
Yeah. And
Okay.
everything is paid for.
Okay.
Because I know that when these people are educated, the illiteracy rate will begin to diminish.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first step I look at, helping people out.
Okay.
Regardless who you are, I don't have to know you.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to make a 3.0. There is no excuse for that.
Okay, so your contribution to the country, as you have assessed, is education.
Yes.
So that's what needs to be prioritized from your perspective. So therefore, others who are watching here, if your area is in education, you can do mentorship, you can do farming, you can do other things, right? Like, so because education drives you. That's something that you're motivated by. So you are sponsoring 10 students per year to contribute to literacy rate in Liberia. So for the person who's asking, that is exactly what he's intending. Well, that's what he's doing now. So let me come to the other question. You study electrical engineering. You've practiced here in the States. Is this something that you intend to do back in Liberia? Educate, teach? What is your plan to utilize these skills that you've gained?
Well, I have to go back
Okay.
before I can answer that question.
Hmm.
Everybody that knows me, my main passion is politics.
Okay. Breaking news.
At Booker T. Washington, they knew I led the riot against Kuragari. I served as the chairman of the sub-executive committee
Okay.
that marched to meet Samuel Doe at the University of Liberia. I served as the assistant secretary on the secretariat for SOUP.
Mm.
My boss at the time was Kanua. He's now a counselor.
Okay.
So yes, I have to enter into politics.
Okay. Okay.
And when you enter into politics, you have to have something, you know, a platform. You look at the country in its totality. You understand education is key.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people are educated, they're able to weigh the pros and the cons. They're able to analyze things adequately and come to
Mm-hmm.
a conclusion. Yes, this is better
Mm.
for me.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yes, we're going to shift the political map.
Mm. Mm.
At the same time, we're going to stand on the firm ground of educating people.
Mm-hmm.
So long you make a 3.0, you are welcome to enjoy the George Titus Double Scholarship.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, y'all need to send this link to all your relatives. Are there specific qualifications? So, as a baseline, right? So, you already have 10 students, and let's say I'm here and I have all Fs, okay? And I want to really be a part of this George Tobel Foundation scholarship, whatever. Are there specific criteria that need to be met by me?
Well, if you don't try hard in life,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to make it.
Okay.
Einstein, when he talked about theory of relativity, it's not something that was built overnight.
Okay.
It was constant research, try and error. So
Uh-huh.
if you're making all F
Uh-huh.
and you're serious of lifting yourself from mat to mattress,
All
which
right.
of course education is the key, you
Mm-hmm.
would dedicate all your time to
Mm-hmm.
your deficiency to
Okay.
ensure that indeed those deficiency turn into positivity
Okay.
and say,
Okay.
yes, I'm going to grab that scholarship. I can make it,
Okay.
but I have to make that 3.0. And
Okay.
even most of the people on my scholarship, I tell them, if you make a 4.0, it's a $500 for you
Ta-da!
per semester. But it is hard and it's so heartbreaking. And there are a lot of variables we have to look at that most of those that are on my scholarship cannot make a 4.0.
But yes. Okay. So all right. What is the I've already asked about criteria. What is the what's my call it? Like, what are you looking for in selecting these people? Because you could say I select them based on recommendation, or I go to classroom and assess. Like, how are you picking these 10 individuals?
Well, I look at it on a need basis. I visited Liberia on several occasions last year, this year, and so on. I mean, last year and year before, and I'm going back this year. I look
Mm-hmm.
at on a need basis. You see, I take myself around neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
schools, and I can see that people are in need.
Mm-hmm.
But again, all at Ike's, you have to make a 3.0.
So, but how do you find these students? Okay, that are
Some of them are recommended. Some of
okay,
them they interact with me,
okay,
and they ask for assistance.
okay.
Yeah. And
Okay, so
some of
it's based
them,
on that you're able to get those 10 students, whether
yeah,
it's recommendation or somebody reaching out to you and says, sir, please, I would like to obtain a scholarship, correct?
yeah.
Okay, so that's good. Now, let's come to, I know you talk politics and we try to stay away from it. However, I always tell people that regardless of your removal from political conversations, politics does have everything to do with you. So therefore, you need to be really focused on getting into politics, not the way of running for anything, whatever it is, but to be really well versed on issues. Now, let me just put it out there. Is that your goal to run for president one day or is to be in the political space?
No, I'm um not ambitious in that sense. I would let the people speak for themselves. But my
Okay.
main purpose is to go and make some changes. My
Okay.
main purpose is to ensure the Liberian people that education is pivotal. My main purpose is to go and tell the Liberian people that indeed infrastructure is critical. My main purpose is to tell the Liberian people that the issues of nepotism, partiality should be wrapped in a box and placed into the state of oblivioncy. My main purpose is to lay out a roadmap in terms of development, education, in terms of minimum wage. Because look, since 1847, come on, independent, these political elements use the masses as a pawn in the chess game. And once they are seated, they turn their back against the very people that seated them. Look at the country. There is no minimum wage. Come on. Someone making $50 a month.
Let's just talk about a living wage before we talk minimum wage. So that's a different topic. But let me just bring this a step back a little bit. So I'm getting back to electrical engineering, because I'd like to know, are you looking to participate with with utilizing your current skills as an electrical engineer in Liberia by any means?
I have utilized that over here as a mentor to, the situation in America, especially when it comes to black kids, our kids. We understand that we talk about the drug epidemic. We find out that a lot of black fathers are in jail. We find out that some of the mothers, fall prey to drugs. So when I meet these people, I try to conscientize them, let them know that all is not lost. I try to be a mentor from my church, talk to some of them, and let them know the key of education. And I was successful in driving, I think, 2 or 3 of them. That one of them is now an engineer.
Okay.
Every time she calls me and like, Mr. Tobo, what next? Mr. Tobo, what's next?
And you're like,
and I say, now, you're an engineer, you make $100,000. You want to go get your master's, go ahead, that's a plus. You want to go get your PhD, go ahead, that's a plus. That would make you to claim the economic chain.
Okay, so for you, what is important is not so much of the practicality of going on the ground to do. Okay, let me just simplify. It's not so much going on the ground to do hands-on work. You're more involved in mentoring people who are looking to get into the electrical engineering space. Is that what I'm getting from you?
Well, it's generic, whatever profession, because I always tell people I develop a theory. And I always tell them, and this is debatable, it's not what you have passion for should determine your primary career path, but what would put a lot of food on that table.
Is that right?
Primary career path does not meet that expectation, don't neglect it, make it a secondary. And then you can come back for it. For instance, I give you an example of kids that I mentor became a teacher. No disrespect. I respect my teachers. But some of those teachers start at $37, $38, $40,000 a year. Uncle Sam have to take his share. So you see, they be living from paycheck to paycheck. But if they can go and do something that give them, the economic power and come back to teaching, you bet they would be okay. So that's what I always tell people. I don't limit you to electrical engineering.
Okay.
I limit you to what people
mentorship to shape their lives in directions that they need to be practical, not so much so of passion. Because some of us, if I follow passion today, I will go be a soccer agent. I would definitely go and become a soccer agent because I love Manchester United. I love the sports, but again, it need to make sense to me. Anyway, so somebody, there are some questions here, regarding the regarding solar power, or nuclear power for Liberia. What are your thoughts?
Well, there are a lot of intricacies involved. First of all, the government they must be real with themselves.
Mm.
Period. If you need a solar system in Liberia now,
Mm-hmm.
or a nuclear system in Liberia,
Mm-hmm.
come to the United States,
Mm-hmm.
lobby with most of those companies that are
Mm-hmm.
entrenched into these idealism, that are practicing it, like
Okay.
Georgia Power, like Greystone Power, and other electrical people. They will come and do a feasibility study,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can tell you this is what it's going to cost. But
Okay.
if you institute privatization of these things
Mm-hmm.
and let the company take over
Mm-hmm.
and give them X amount of years to make the money,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that will help a whole lot instead of the government trying to shoulder the burden of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it's possible. And
Okay.
even a friend in India, he's instituting those things in his villages and thing with the solar panel. They are very much expensive now,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
they are durable.
Okay. So your thing is, in order to determine solar power or nuclear power, there needs to be a feasibility study, but it can be privatized, you said.
Yes, you have to look at the privatization of them because the government, I don't think we have the resources in our coffer to talk about nuclear, looking at nuclear energy.
But so let's say we're not looking at nuclear energy. What out of these two things, as an electrical engineer, which one do you think is more even feasible
Which one is feasible?
for Liberia?
Well, the solar panel is much feasible for now. Yep.
Okay.
But the government have to invest in that.
Okay. 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 So you're speaking as an electrical engineer. Okay. The next question is, what's your thoughts on the current situation of power shortages in Liberia as an electrical engineer?
Well, it's just something we just highlighted because actually you're looking at LEC, Liberia Electric Corporation.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
What is their function?
What is the function, huh?
You see, what is their function? See, they are just a blind image to me
Mm.
because I think LEC, the function of LEC to ensure that the entire country enjoy the energy.
Mm.
But what are they doing? So the best thing is for the country, the government, to privatize the electrical portion of the country,
Okay.
bring in foreign investors,
Mm-hmm.
and again, there will be studies done, and we can see whether we should go through solar or whether
Uh-huh.
we should go through nuclear.
So how does a private entity, if you do know or if you don't know, that's okay, we can table that. How does a private person or entity come in and say, you know what, I can do something about this?
That's why in America we have lobbyists.
Okay.
So within the Liberian government, if they're serious about upgrading their power resources, they should
Mm.
have people within the planning ministry, within foreign affairs, to come send dignitaries to foreign countries, lobby with people in terms of your power grid.
Okay.
You have to talk to them, and you
Okay. So
have to give them.
I want to solve this issue. I want to solve this issue. So you are suggesting that I go and lobby.
I mean, what I'm saying is that the government needs to lobby these companies because it's not cheap.
It's not. It's more
It's
time.
not cheap.
Yeah, more
But if
time.
someone like me, a Liberian, and I don't think it would be feasible to institute, say, begin to sell solar panel, you know, it might help, but it will be at the lower scale. We need something enlarging, supporting all the different counties. You see, it's not just Morovia or just a little village. So yes, you have to have dignitaries going to foreign countries, lobby with the big wigs in terms of power grill, like Georgia Power, as I said, or Greystone Power and other power company. And they
Mm-hmm.
will have to come and do some studies and say, well, this is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
remember, if that happens, it helps with the high rate of unemployment because these
Mm.
people coming in and they're employing people to do the labor. They're going to bring experts, but they're going to be a handful of experts. But the vast majority of the people that going to be working in the plant, that people are Liberians. So
Mm.
yes, we have to do it at a larger scale instead of looking at it at the most minute scale.
Okay.
We
So
have to
in other
involve
words,
foreign dignitaries.
in other words, it's more of a, it's not a smaller issue. It's a bigger issue that needs to be taken upon by people in higher places like the government, for example.
Yes.
Do we have enough iron ore deposits to manufacture our own infrastructure, or are we going to have to um, form strong relationships with our neighbors to do so?
Well, there are other alternatives. Most iron ore is of the past. Rubber is of the past because technology have evolved. There are other alternatives that people look at. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, I don't think Liberia should have enough. But yet and still, again, if you lobby with the right people, we will be able to change things. You can't continue your dependency on iron ore or rubber. We have other alternatives.
So, in other words, you're looking at foreign influence. Now, let's come to this same individual was asking, what does lobbying mean? Like from your own words.
Well, let me put it this way. A lobbyist goes out there and advocates on behalf of a certain project or certain things you want to undertake. So you go out there, you sit, you try to talk to people, you try to negotiate, you try to sell yourself, sell your project to them. You try to tell them this is the incentives that you're going to get if XYZ. For example, let me give you an example. The road, the infrastructure in terms of roads in Liberia,
Mm-hmm.
if you send a representative to America or any other country, and these people come and interact with some of these construction companies and say,
Uh-huh.
look, if you build XYZ road,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to put toll booths, you're going to have 100% jurisdiction over it for 50 years and then turn it
Mm-hmm.
over back to the government.
Uh-huh.
They will come in. So you already tell them what the incentive is going to be.
Uh-huh.
You're negotiating with them. That's what a lobbyist does. He
Mm-hmm.
negotiate on behalf of his entity to
Mm-hmm.
another. It's
Okay.
just like a
So
used car salesman telling you
yeah.
how good his car is. And if you buy this car, I can even take off another 5% because you serve in the military. Thanks for
Mm-hmm.
your service. So it's almost a lobbyist is almost like a used car salesman pushing
Okay,
his ideology.
I hope that clarifies your question regarding being a lobbyist or lobbying. As far as I know, people are still building with steel. So, what is a good alternative to steel?
Uh, Good alternative to steel. Well, I don't see an alternative. It depends on the project
Mm-hmm.
because regardless if you're talking about infrastructure, buildings and things, yes, you need steel.
You
But
do. Even
also if you're talking about uh, concrete, there are a lot of different levels of asphalt that people use in terms of not using steel or minimizing steel. But I can definitely tell you the basic alternative perhaps would be on the asphalt and the concrete level.
But most people don't understand that even asphalt, looking at asphalt, I mean, it's not environmentally friendly. However, to even go that route, you're talking about $1 million per kilometer. So it's not a cheap system anyway. So if we were to talk about that, but let's get back to let's go back to this dear Liberian thing. So you've already addressed some of the things that need to that some of the root causes that we need to address. Education, the literacy rate is not where it needs to be. Mentorship, and leadership in some aspects, as you said. And the other thing of Dear Liberian Part 2 is, like I said, Liberians in the diaspora specifically, okay, who are so quick to top barriers. How can we be very impactful in our own economy back home? We do see the barriers there, but for us within the diaspora who are capable, who have the skills, what can we all do? How can we contribute and just remove that problem of, oh, there are so many barriers, now I can't help the country, da, da, da.
Yes, I mean, you have to be selfless. You have to take yourself out of the picture,
Mm-hmm.
not what in there for you. You have to make the ultimate sacrifice to know
Mm-hmm.
that it is your country. And yes, you will meet, because the country is polluted,
Mm-hmm.
the issue of corruption going on.
Mm-hmm.
But the process will be gradual to eliminate these ills. But
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't serve as a deterrent of you
Uh-huh.
coming
Uh-huh.
home to contribute to the
Mm-hmm.
motherland.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And nothing comes easy.
Nothing does come easy.
The great
Nothing
United
good comes
States,
easy.
yeah, the great United States is not where they are today on the silver platter. You
Mm.
heard about the Civil War that was fought here.
Mm-hmm.
You heard about the slavery issue that
Mm-hmm.
we encountered, the blacks
Mm-hmm.
encountered here. You heard about the segregation that even still goes on. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, there
Mm-hmm.
will be barriers, but that shouldn't serve as a deterrent. We have to fight through those barriers. We have to let people know that indeed corruption is a nuisance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
I mean,
sooner
even
or
in the
later,
great
again,
United States, yeah, even in the great United States, there are inequalities. You'll find it in every sector. I would tell people today, even those that believe it or not, inequalities are just very rampant everywhere. However, people still prioritize the country. So my thing is, a Liberian goes to Liberia and they come by and say, "Oh, that country not for me. That country not good." Da da da. Blah blah blah. What can we really say to these people that just spread these? Ah, the country is not good. These rumors, this news, and negativity. Like, what can be said?
we have to conscientize them.
Mm-hmm.
We have to let them know, regardless, it is your country.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, come and contribute.
Okay.
If you say the country is indeed in a state of degradation, come. Let's help elevate that country.
We
Come.
need you.
So you can criticize them with the same tongue as my mom always tell me. You cannot what's the stuff she used? Put a fire with fire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
one person have to, take the bigger road. So I hear your criticism. It's in place. But yes, we need you. Come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In whatsoever your career is, whatsoever your profession is, come and join us.
Mm-hmm.
Two heads better than one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing, I was having this conversation this morning actually with my aunt. She's Liberian, of course, and I was asking her specific questions, and I want Liberians everywhere to ask themselves the same question. If you are at a job you don't like very much, is giving you a headache, you have two options. One, to leave and go elsewhere, or two, to see what you can do to improve whatever the issues are. Or most of you, if you don't like your house you live in, you'll go to a new house. So that's the same now becomes applicable to your country. If you don't like what you see there, you do something to improve it. That is just the gist of that. But again, like you said initially, ask what it's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. So as we identify barriers, we have to see best way to find practical solutions. And as you said, it may not be like right away. It needs
Yeah.
to be gradually done and with patience and patriotism. So let's go to, oh, you have anything to add before I can proceed to the comments?
No, that's it. You hit it right on the neck.
All right, let's see. Somebody said, Virginia, do you have plan of opening a technical school where young Liberians can learn electrical engineering?
Well,
You're
I
working
never
to
thought
open
about
the
that, but
school.
yeah, you see, I do believe we have a technical institution in Liberia that prepared me for who I am today,
Okay.
the great Booker T. Washington.
Booker T. Washington, for some of you who
So
are watching.
I do believe, I do believe I can contribute
Okay.
to better Booker T. Washington because he
Mm,
served indeed as an eye for the community. So
mm,
yes, perhaps
mm.
in the distant future,
Okay.
if we have ideology clash at Booker T, yes, then I will open up my own technical institution. But for now, my 100% support is with Booker T. Washington.
Booker T. Washington. I have no clue, but I've heard of it. I obviously was not in that space to go there, and I've
Well,
heard of it. So some of
let
you
me
who are
give you a
watching,
little
go ahead.
let me give you a little short history of Booker T. Booker T was named after one of the slave civil rights leader, Booker T. Washington of Liberia.
Hmm.
I mean
Hmm.
America.
In the
And
U.S.
Booker T trained people. We have different vocations over there. Everything ranging from carpentry, electricians, plumbers, bookkeepers, accounting, drafting, electronics, electricity, you just name them. So at Booker T. Washington, when you get to, I think, your senior year, yes, they send you out for
Hmm.
job training. We call the
Hmm.
internship for 6 months.
Okay.
So it enables you to, put the theoretical aspect of your profession into practical.
Okay.
So it
Perfect.
helps a whole lot.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is you're open to going to Booker T. Washington Institute and providing your expertise to them. Amen. All right, let's go to this other comment. Unless they are an African country, everybody else would take advantage of it, or whatever. Okay. Okay. So there's another one. Let's see. Yes, the American elders that are black are very corrupted. Like the leaders of the black community are the elders because they are the remnants of the civil rights era. They are very corrupt and pretty bourgeoisie. Um, I don't know if that's a comment. Like the sectors of improvement aren't a reflection of the young black American. It's a system set up against us very much. Do you have anything to say to those comments?
Well, I don't know who wrote that statement, but regardless of color, human by nature, we are self-centered, we have egotistics, and if left alone, according to the great philosopher, we will not only destroy ourselves, but everything that nature God have provided. So the
Mm.
issue of corruption is not just based on the color of the person's skin. The issue of corruption is based on the human egotisticism. If you talk about the black man being corrupt, then I'd ask you, what is happening in Brazil? What is happening in North Korea? What is happening in Russia? So yes, corruption has no color, but it's based on the human egotisticism.
But
There are black people, I
we
give you
can't
an
complete.
example.
Hmm.
There are black people who indeed came from math, elevated themselves to mattress, fought vehemently, working with institutions, and even after graduation, even at the Great Morehouse College, I think it was 2020 or 2021, this black man was able to pay the entire class, the entire class. I want to say 2000 or 2020 or 2021, one of it,
The
their
scholarship
student
one,
debt.
the student there, yeah, yeah, yeah. Student there.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned foreign investors. Remember those foreigners won't assist until they know what they will be getting from that country. So I know he did reference, for example, 50 years if you were to do a toll, and that would become their ROI, right? Because within that time frame they can recoup
Recoup the money.
and
Yeah.
get profit. But I have a specific issue with that, and I don't really want to capitalize so much on this. Is that if you are sending away 50 years, for example, you are actually creating problems for future leaders, or perhaps I think that within these so-called deals there needs to be clauses that said modification at X, Y, and Z time and so and so. Because if you're doing 50 years, that's a long time. I'm president. I had nothing to do with your 50-year deal. Now I'm stuck in a clause, Firestone, for example, and I am actually not doing much more. Not, for example, the road that you reference. Let's say I fix the road and I have this 50 years. Now, well, the clause said I'm just going to collect my money, so I'm not going to even repair, nor am I going to do anything else because my goal was just to fix this road. I think that's problematic, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
May I interject?
Go ahead.
When these people are given this project for the 50 years or 25 years, they are responsible for the maintenance, everything. I can tell you about my great state of Georgia. We have the toll road that went on for, I think, what was it, 40 or 50 years. The investors collect the toll for that time. The investors were responsible to maintain that road for that time. And after that, they turn it over to the government. Now the government is recouping money from there. That help with indeed their budget. That help with their coffer. So yes, I mean, if the great state of Georgia can do that, which of course their budget quadruple the budget of Liberia, why we can emulate that?
I mean, there are several factors, which is why I don't, well, personally, because that conversation honestly could take me hours to have. The thing is, it goes now back to even if you were to sign a contract that has a duration of 50 years, right? What it is that you put in the clause and that will be followed through on, very crucial. Very crucial. If maintenance for X, Y, and Z years is outlined in the contract, then if these individuals that are constructing this role are not following through, what will be the repercussions? These are things that, again, I don't.
Yeah, that's where the legal minds comes in. The legal
Yeah.
minds comes in when you're drafting those kind of stuff. The legal minds will come in. But let me say this to you: would you prefer the privatization of the roads as to these public work people coming in to fix the road? We see what happens in the rehab community today.
Mm-hmm.
I have been back and forth, I think 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell me if that is feasible for someone to have hoe as well as shovel trying to fix a road using hammer to break rocks instead of using the requisite instruments, bulldozers and stuff, and keep going on. So it would be better to have the technocrat comes in and they will tell you 3 years this project will be done. In 3 years it will be done. They put in the money, they put in the materials, they put in the manpower.
Therefore, if it is not, the timeline has not been met, what
Yes,
will be the consequences of that? These are
that's
some of the
why
things
you have the
that we.
legal jargons. You have
Okay,
the legal brains that will come, well, in 3 years, if it is not done, perhaps we're going to fine you. Perhaps the duration of you taking over the road going to be diminished by 75%. It's the legal minds want to draft those things. And they
okay, so
understand all those intricacies.
it needs to be stated, but again, as I said previously, if we were to discuss it, that would be a very lengthy conversation.
Yeah, but what
So
would you prefer? Since 1980, the infrastructure we see today in Liberia was from the 1822 up to 1980. What new infrastructure have we seen? We're looking at the same old roads. We're looking
I'm
at
not
this.
okay.
What are
Okay,
the
so
infrastructures we see?
I'm not
So which one
disputing
is much better?
privatization, nor do I am not against privatization. However, I'm saying that if we were to go that route, that foreign route, the language needs to be accommodating to where things are being privatized.
Yeah,
That's all
we
I'm
have
saying.
legal minds.
And that, yeah, but let's hope if we were to go that route, that it's not going to be something that people are going to take advantage of because of lack of legal minds,
Yeah.
and or because I'm desperate for a road. Now I need to get private entities to come in here, give me a couple of funds, do the road without careful legal eyes. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so right, let's see here. Somebody says, okay, oh my goodness, how these comments. I need to keep up, guys. Hold on. Okay, so okay. Right, foreign investors will be asking what Liberia can do for them instead of what they can do for Liberia. We should form an industrial union or something with as many African countries as we can. Anyway, the next comment is BWI is resting on past glory. Okay, so you want to talk about BWI again?
What they said, BWI is what?
BWI is resting on past glory. I have no idea why BWI came into this thing, but because I
Well,
think because you already mentioned that the school is not what it used to be. I mean, absolutely not. From standards issues to competency or lack thereof. There are just so many things. What we used to do that your BW Booker T. Washington Institute.
well, we need to look at the country. It's not what it used to be in the 80s.
Absolutely
Because
not.
we had educated minds. But because of the 10, 15, what is it? 15 years old silver carnage, it leads us into the complete state of depletion. But yet and still, we cannot forget that foundation that BWI created. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we, class of 87, we have embarked on the
No, not
project
even
called
one.
we have
Go ahead.
embarked on the project called the Resource Center. We are embarking on the Resource Center, which of course the groundbreaking ceremony would be on the 21st of April this
Okay.
year. And that Resource Center will help, bring BWI to what it was before.
I think all people that want to BWI travel out of the country need to come back and help BWI. But we move to the next.
Yeah.
Virginia, that is why he said the foreign investors would take over the road, for example, for certain years, tour deal, and turn the road over to the government. Okay, that was in reference to the question being asked about foreign entities taking over. What's happening in the US? Let rich African invest. Amen. At Virginia, that's why he stated earlier that foreign. Oh my God, I'm repeating myself. Now. The class systems of petty bourgeoisie is a product of capitalism. It helps no one. It separates humanity based on the haves and the have-nots. Anything to add to that? Class systems.
Well, we all have our input, our side to take when it comes to capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
But you can look at it in retrospect or you can look at it in perspective. Capitalism is indeed a good tool. And they have elevated America as we see today. And we see America is indeed a superpower. And you see, even in America, regardless, people talk about the disadvantage of capitalism, but it enabled people from nowhere, from poverty, to come up to middle class. So capitalism worked, although it has its disadvantages, but we cannot downplay it.
Everything has advantages and disadvantages. You just got to ask yourself what works and what doesn't.
Yes.
For the development of the country, the president who's coming in power can continue that deal. Like, so there's not like, currently Liberia situation, but in essence saying that if a president signs a deal today, it needs to be reflected next, within the next president's government. And these same clauses or perhaps the full contract need to be carried over to the next president. In agreement, like I said, if now the president who is reviewing and things are, law, ice, whatever, and they are serving right, you continue it. If the contract says 50 years, it's very unfortunate. If I assume, for example, as I would say, if the contract says 50 years and I am a sign a terrible contract, God knows I would not sign a terrible contract. Now, Mr. Tobo, who's taking over as the next president, he will have to inherit this terrible contract. And we move no place.
Well, let me interject on that. You see, that's why we have laws. The president with such a with such an endeavor can just make the final decision. It's something that he have to send to the legislative branch. The legislative branch have to study that, and they have to vote upon it. And once that has been solidified, yes, everybody hold part to it. You can go back and alter it.
Okay.
So it's not something like the president decided to take this initiative. There are some initiatives the president going to take that he use executive power that he doesn't need approval from the House of Representatives or the Senate.
And as we've been saying repeatedly here is the jargons will need to be reviewed by lawyers, people who know exactly what they're doing, so that if President One leaves, the second president can carry over or perhaps modifications be made to suit the situation at the time. Because what may be applicable 10 years ago may not be applicable 20 years from now. However, when it comes to consequence and what needs to be done, the right thing that needs to be done, there is no changing that.
Yep.
So, anywho, for the development of the country, the president will be thinking about, okay, what if we need tax revenue from these roles, but the return is going to foreign investors?
Tax revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, development bring about economic power.
Mm-hmm.
People will come to your country as long as the country is developed.
Mm-hmm.
Say development bring about economic power. I see people swamp into places like Dubai. Dubai is just 50 years old, and you see these skyscrapers and all this stuff. It bring about tourism. So if we invest in development and create a tourist system, it will bring tourists in our country. And yes, we can make money from them. It will help in terms of our lifting up our coffer as a government.
But the question here, and of course there's relevancy to what you said, is that what if we need tax revenue from these roles, but that tax revenue goes back to now these foreign investors who built these roles?
Yes, because the investors pay their money. The government is not paying a dime. So yes, it's some of the deals that we strike. Some deals are good, some deals are bad. But we're looking at the future. I gave you the state of Georgia, the toll road. After 40 years, I think 40, 50 years, the government is enjoying the incentive. All that money that we run through and put in, buy our monthly cards, etc., is going into the government coffer. The government can use these as safety net for their own citizens.
Okay, so I think that I can expand on that. He already went over. So then it says, then have to hope America don't sanction us for standing up for ourselves.
Come on, we come back to the same point. We can only stand for ourselves if we are indeed realists. When you
And
become a realist,
what would it take?
when you become a realist, I made the statement before. Ask not what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country. Take the ills of corruption, wrap it up. It's the same corruption that caused America to pose sanctions on people in Liberia today. So elements of corruption, wrap it up and throw it into the sea of oblivion, then we get in somewhere. But every government, everybody, Liberians, they use the country as an elephant meat, and that is wrong. You come as a president, you leave as a millionaire. What is that? You come as a chief justice, you leave as a millionaire. Put the country first. That's what we need to do.
Patriotism, as we speak and talk about people in the diaspora, needs to put the country first. As much as I don't like to go this route, everyone else that governs the country needs to put it first, and that is the fact. Oh, sorry, you wanted to add?
Yeah, most of the people, again, you come to the educational aspect. Most of the people, they are not educated to understand how government works. So we in the diaspora, we have tasted the gist of education. We have tasted the what we call the incentives of education. It is left with us to go over there, put our country first, put those requisite mechanisms together to ensure that Liberia get out of that state of degradation and take the role of a leadership as they did back in the 1822s, 1847, when they were the symbol of emulation for countries like Nigeria, country like Ghana, 1957, to follow and say, oh, we need to be independent also. And you know, back in the days, they look at Liberia as little America because we were pushing ourselves. We were leaders and people were following. If Liberia can be independent, we can do the same thing. But look back today, most of these people are developed and we still lack this in a dungeon of degradation in terms of development.
So the thing is government influence, government accountability, government leadership, in addition to citizen, we all need to be patriots of our country. I think that is the bottom line of this discussion. Regardless of who's in power, we have the abilities to do what is right for our country because of love for country, not necessarily so love for a specific government. We are doing so, or we are providing our skills and our time because that is what we need to do for our country to stand tall. Now we get back to these questions. The person says, why have foreign investors why have foreign investors yet to invest in Liberia? Are there not enough lobbyists?
Well, I can tell you one of the reason, especially American company, because they are held accountable. One of the major reasons that most companies in America do not want to invest in Liberia is because of the system of corruption. There is no accountability. And companies in America will be held accountable if they go through the back door. You know, the Fed don't play. And so therefore, the government need to set and say enough is enough. You have to alleviate corruption.
Yeah,
you have to create transparency.
Agreement with that.
You have to create transparency, and these people can come in, because these people are not going to come in and then you sit there to sign their paper. Okay, so what you say? What I say? The papers, everything is correct. You need to sign it. But you got to tip someone here, tip someone there. And most of these stuff, they are not compatible with common human decency. So those are principles we need to attack to ensure that we have transparency, to ensure that corruption is sent back in 1910 and let the people do their job. And then you will see that a lot of foreign companies will come in and know that, yes, transparency exists in this country, and that, yes, we can invest freely without having to go probably incorporate corruption within our principle.
No, I'm highly in agreement with that. I was working on a very massive project for something that would have been beneficial to people in Lofa County. Multi-billion dollars were going to be spent. But because corruption was at the base of this, the investors backed out. They were in Michigan, millionaires. They produced jam, they produced poultry products, and they were going to go to Lofa County to invest heavily in the country. But there are red tapes that prevented them. So is the corruption aspect that really drives some investors away. But as I've always said on this channel, we need to find practical solutions to whether it's coming from private entities or even going through the government. But we need to find a room where investors will be more safe to do so, whether they're private people going there and taking these investors to form private institutions versus going through the government. Either way, we need to find a solution to get our economy moving again. So now let's proceed to the next. W.E. Du Bois was part of the blue bully class that wasn't only colorist, but was also petty bourgeoisie. This person loved this word and was also discriminatory against the dark-skinned majority of Americans. Economics as it won't economics as it is okay, economic as it won't help. So I think that's what the person was saying. So anyway, private foreign investments in the economic practices won't help the entirety of Liberia or the entire continent. Capitalism is the problem. We should operate on barter system or corporation. Private foreign investment in the economic practices won't help the entirety of Liberia or the entire continent. Capitalism is the problem and we should operate a barter system. What do you think? Oh my God, so many comments. I can't. Oh
there,
my God.
there is no one solution to the issue. Yes, private investors, depending on might not be enough, but yes, it cleared the path to helping Liberia because the government don't have the money in terms of infrastructure. They don't. So what we look up to, the government will put into play a system that these investors will have to follow.
But let me ask you something, okay? I dependency on foreign aid isn't the route necessarily. It could help, right? But why don't we go to the aspect of GDP, okay? In terms of what we can actually do as a nation, okay? Instead of looking for foreigners or foreign investors to always come in to save us, if we can look into other means of doing it ourselves. Like I said, production, manufacturing.
Then that's what comes to the idea of realism, because we have been doing it ourselves since 1980. Yes,
Oh,
we have been
Lord.
doing it ourselves since 1980. Where have it taken us? So it comes back to the point of realism. But let me comment on this the statement this person made that America isn't a good example. We have so many poor people without housing and unhealthy eating habits. Those who have the resources, who are white, have the means to determine the lives of poor people. To an extent, that is true, but it is highly debatable
Mm-hmm.
because every man Every woman is an architect of their own destiny. The great
Mhm.
Booker T. Washington did not allow slavery to hinder him. He was enslaved. An enslaved person still was able to go to school. So we are in a society where there is no slavery. But yes, we have some barriers, but you don't look at those barriers of racism and let it handle you. You have to push yourself. When you enter into the government safety net, you are creating that glass ceiling for yourself. And this is what we find most of our African American brothers, as well as even our white counterparts. We find them in those situations because they gave themselves to government subsidy, and the government set the rule. Hey, you're not going to make more than $10,000. We're going to cut your whatsoever. So yes, America is a good example to an extent because I frown on these safety nets. I do believe that safety nets should only be given to the disabled and the elderly. But you find a
So
20-year-old sitting
so
there
in
utilizing these safety nets.
okay,
So
so
yes,
in
America is a good example that we can look at in terms of
okay,
development because they
okay,
have check and balance. I'm not going
okay.
to come over there and be a minister in Liberia and have my wife being the assistant minister.
Nepotism.
It don't work. It's not going to happen in America. Period.
Wait a minute.
It's not going
Donald
to
Trump and
happen.
his daughter and her husband.
Or it's not going to happen. What you talking about? Trump daughter?
What was her role in her dad's government?
She was an
What was
advisor.
what was okay? But that is still part. But that's
And
I
she
really
was
don't want to
working
get
for no money.
nitty
Remember,
gritty.
no money.
No money. Excuse me. No money. She worked for
Yes.
free. Oh come on. Let us not be naive. I don't. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into
Yeah,
that. Sorry.
I know. Most of these people, they
Okay.
are already rich. They just want the name. That's all.
Doesn't
Like I
make it
did
right.
XYZ in the American government. The president of America make $400,000 a year. Do you think those people who are going to become president, you think they care about 400,000? Barack Obama gave almost, I think, 30 or 40% of his salary to charities. And so George Bush did. It's not about the money. It's just about the
All right,
prestige.
I have to pivot a bit because this is
Yeah.
becoming this is a very interesting conversation, I mean, racial inequalities continue to happen, but as it relates to Liberia, somebody have a very good question here, and I think that we need to answer this and move on to the next Dear Liberian topic, which is. It's not realistic to think African countries can develop their own.
Well, you have to look at it. You have to look at history, and then you have to look at the present time. African country, yes, it is not realistic, but it's durable. If we have people who are realists, look what happened in Nigeria, the election. Look what happens there. Human egotisticism. Gunmen came, clear people out from voting, shooting. Where the police? Where the soldiers? So yes, the continent is so much corrupt, but if they can create a system of change, yes, because we have a lot of resources in Africa, but we allowed foreigners to come and pull them out for little of nothing.
Sir, I would definitely disagree with that. I mean, realism is an aspect to agree on, but in terms of the continent being able to, or countries on the continent being able to get themselves out of the rabbit hole, or perhaps improve their country, is not impossible, nor is not realistic. I think it's actually really realistic. Now you can talk about leadership and or accountability issues in some of these countries, and even in the great United States of America, the same problems are they're visible in Africa, and they are just silent in the United States. But we're talking about the continent, and I believe, and you can see countries that are doing well, thriving in Africa, that are into trying to produce and do things for themselves to stand on their own 2 feet. So it's not that it's impossible or not that it's not realistic. Maybe if you want to talk about Liberia, it's like a defeat to oneself. But I'm a realist. I think it's very much so very possible for us to produce ourselves, for us to manufacture ourselves, to increase our GDP and take it where it needs to be. Countries like Rwanda, they're getting out of that. Countries like Mauritania, they're getting out of that. If you look at countries that are doing well on the continent, they are finding a formula to move in that direction if they are not already there. But again, like I said, these are topics for a different day. Since we're talking about Liberia, we will move to the next topic. um, the next thing is, we've talked about barriers in Liberia and how we can overcome them to make an impact to our country. The next aspect is, dear Liberians, it is not a crime to work together to achieve more. Talk to me about the importance of collaboration, and why Liberians need to really engage in collaboration.
Because collective idealism is pivotal in terms of progress. That's why people always say two heads better than one. Yes, sometimes we can come and discuss. You might not like the process I'm carrying to solve a problem, but indeed it will lead to that problem solving. So yes, we need to come up together collectively. We need to bring up the different ideologies, and we need to work as one. And that can only be done if we take ourselves off the picture and look at the goal. The main goal is for the country. It's not me. It's the country. It's not you. It's the country to benefit. If we find a means that this is going to be profitable for the country, we must take ourselves out. We might disagree with this person, but yet and still, at the end of the day, it is beneficial for the country. That's what we look at. And Liberians have a lot of professionals. They are waiting to go home to make those changes. But I always tell them, you can sit on the sideline too long. God only gave us 3 score and 10 on earth. You can sit on the sideline. Time move fast. So you have to go. You have to contribute. You have to find people that have the same commonality in terms of idealism of your country. And we can collectively put those ingredients together to ensure that we have a better Liberia. But yes, collective efforts is pivotal.
America runs on ethnocentrism, which is just self, 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 self. But when you look at the bottom of the economy, you still see collaboration, even big corporations, if you really think about it. So, but within our own Liberian community, what in my observation is competition, where this person is, or maybe if I go back to Liberia, I will do this by myself. And we don't really yield good results from that. So this is why it helps to reach out to you. Like if I just found out now that you study electrical engineering, if I have a brother that need a mentor, I'm going to reach out to you. Now it is within your own power to say, you know what, I can't mentor you because I don't want you to go in and take over, to teach others in life. But that's the mentality I believe some of us we have, and is a big problem for our country. How can we bridge that gap? What can we do to really work together?
We have to continue to conscientize people. It is a task, it is a hard task, but it's durable. We have to continue to conscientize people to tell them, take yourself out of the picture. It's not about you, it is about the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about you. So we have to continue to conscientize them, and we have to continue to lead by example. And with that method, I do think we can reach our goal of collaboration.
We conscious.
Sometimes you
So,
have to,
mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to institute the method of the rat. As my grandmom used to tell me, when you sleep, the rat comes in, it bites your toe, but it blow. It gives you a cool blow
Ah,
that
it's
you
great.
don't wake up. So when you see these critics of development and they are capable of contributing, you carry on that same mentality with them. You don't try to hurt their feelings. You try to find that balance, that equilibrium that
Mm-hmm.
will encourage them to say, okay, you
Mm-hmm.
see, but sometimes we have to take ourselves from the picture,
Mm-hmm.
period.
Mm-hmm.
We have to let them know the bottom line is the development of the country. It's not about me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is tough, but it's durable.
It's very durable, and the idea of self grabbing the bear mentality is something that, like you said, we need to conscientize people. We need to constantly talk about it, and also be good example setters.
Mhm.
What are some practical ways, though, that we can do that? That we can do that.
I always tell people I'm ingrained in my faith. So before I embark on any project, I must invite God.
Okay.
And God have to lead me. And once I say my prayer, you know, and consult with him, he gave me those medium.
Mm-hmm.
And in life, we have to agree to disagree.
Right. Just like I disagree
So
with you.
therefore,
Uh,
when you interacting with these people, yes, you want them, they are technocrats. You want them on that wall. You want them to come and help. So we have to agree to disagree. Okay, I understand your point. Yes, we take that into consideration. But yes, get on the bandwagon. Let's go. Let's make Liberia the light in darkness for others to emulate. So we have
mm-hmm.
to disagree, agree to disagree, take ourselves out of the picture, set up a structure, find that line, you know, of demarcation. It is very much blur, but understand that a lot of people, they have not too thick a skin. So you talk to them in a negative way, you drive them away. So you have to find that balance.
So some
And
people just need to be catered to a little bit, right?
yeah,
Some people need to be pushed a little more further, and some people actually need to see practical examples. So when we are speaking to Liberians, whether it's in person or even via this platform, is to have a sense of awareness of people's journey too,
yeah,
and most importantly, put the country first in the sense that even if you haven't been back home in 30 years, it doesn't stop you from just being quiet. Oh, because I haven't been home in 30 years, therefore that country is still bad from my own experience. I think that we can practice some level of positivity when we are speaking to others about the country. I think that's one of the best things. And the
yeah.
other thing I have been thinking, of course, you can tell me, is we need to form networks. Networking has proven to be very effective in building in sustainability. It has been very, very effective. So in our community, we don't network very well. How do you think we can start now to network with each other? Because we do offer different skills. We bring different things to the table. How can we really network um, in the diaspora and away from the diaspora?
We have to come together if we have commonality in ideology, and we have to set up a structure, whether we're going to have a website, whatever it is, we have to set up a structure. and we
Mm-hmm.
have to define ourselves, what we catering towards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And once we set up a structure that we can buzz into our website and all that, it will encourage people to know that we are serious.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then we can take in different ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and that will help a lot. So
Okay,
we have to
structure.
organize ourselves. Is
Okay,
one.
that's
And
another way.
then we have to create a website to go ahead and put our message out there, what
Mm-hmm.
we stand for
Mm-hmm.
to the larger society.
Okay.
And people will see and they will come. And
Mm-hmm.
depending on what project we institute, people will follow suit.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things I was looking at, embarking on, is I'm fond of education.
Yeah, yeah,
So most
definitely.
of the time I was trying to play in my head, putting things together to say, you know what? I'm going to start a 5K run in
Okay,
Liberia.
okay, okay.
Yep. Catering towards education.
Okay, so how? Okay, good. Now let's get back to the networking aspect and being very inclusive to collaborate with others. If you were to start this 5K run, how do you think you could include others to be a part of it? And so it's not so individualized.
Yes. That's why I will be open to all ideologies. If I'm going to open a website,
Will you be reaching out to people?
yes, I have friends that I would try, if we share commonality in ideology, for them to reach out to other people in different sectors. Like I have friends in Minnesota, for instance. I can sell the idea to the great Dr. Tapla, who have built a mega church over there in Minnesota, Brooklyn Park. I'm very much proud of him, and we can use his, you know, his brain on other things. I can even lobby with even brothers in Maryland, brothers in Philadelphia. I can even lobby with brothers in Liberia, Morovia. I
Mm-hmm,
have
mm-hmm.
the class of '87 that is well organized over there.
Washington. Uh-huh.
So you see, you have all these different people. Even in my community that I grew up, Garnersville, I still have people that I know, that my brother know, that we have to come together collectively and say, look, this is what we're planning to do. What do you think? What is your input? What is your suggestion? And we can find commonality, and we can, collaborate in that effort. Not one person have everything, have all the answers. There are other people who have the ideas but don't have the resources. And if we can open up such a medium, these people with the ideas can come in, and each and every one of us can benefit. So that's
Absolutely.
what collaboration is all about.
Like an African proverb that says, you go further with more people than you go by yourself. So I
Yes.
mean, I'm not specifically quoting the full thing word by word, but my point is, in unity, there are more solutions to be displayed versus an individual trying to solve things by themselves. Another thing I believe that we can do every time we gather for July 26th to celebrate independence, and I don't go to these things because I don't find any benefit in it other than going to dance and drink. I think that we can use this time to maybe 30 minutes to fundraise, to build like a clinic, to form like a mentorship group or something like that. If I tell people, if you guys will have these at your July 26th, I will go there. But if you don't, I'm gonna drink at my house, go to the club, go somewhere else. I'm do all that there. But I think that July 26th is a time that we can set aside to say, you know what, let's pick a cause to do as a group so that when 26 come, we can collect even $5 and put it towards this. But not just to just be dancing and eating and pledging and all these things.
But you
I think
see, it's the same thing. You can divorce yourself from the opportunity. That's what
mhm,
you just did. When you see them, that forum is a medium for you
it
to
is.
sell your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you might disagree with, the method that they're carrying out, But if you bring your idea,
Perhaps.
bring your idea, you're going to turn some souls over and say, wait a minute. Yeah, she's right. We can continue just come, play soccer, football, drink, eat. But that's a good thing. Let we listen to her. And through that, other organizations, other communities will hear and they will emulate. So yeah, we can shunt out. For so long, I have been on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
I have been on the sideline. I have been criticizing people.
Okay.
But I told myself, it has to stop.
Okay. So
You have to
you
stop criticizing. You have to do. What
okay.
can you do to help? So go
Mm-hmm.
into those communities, show
Okay.
your expertise, and help shape the dynamics.
I'm gonna
So
task
yes, I
myself.
have been guilty of that.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm working on a project where I'm trying to include, it's like a networking project where people from different backgrounds can come together to see how we can all utilize our skills in, like, to go to Liberia and utilize our skills there, whether it's, like I said, mentorship. I'm really coaching, teaching, anything that we are good at within this network. We can say, we can have a reference point, go to this, group of people. I'm just trying to, like, sketch it out, and then I start to
Yeah.
invite people. And so it's in the nitty gritty and putting things together stage. And then from there, I will share with people, and then try to see how best we can all, just network and help each other out, whether in the United States, um, you know, we if we can help each other out here as well as the country, that would be something that will impact
Yes,
our nation.
we also we actually need mentorship here.
Mm-hmm,
Because I can tell you that a lot of Liberians came here, they negate one of the basic issue of prosperity, which is education.
mm-hmm,
They threw it away. And I
mm-hmm,
have a brother, I call him a brother, but we grew up together, good friends.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
we
always talk to him
do
on
need
that.
that
It
here.
is
It's not just
important.
Liberia. We need that here. I always tell people we need to establish a
Yep.
cash cow to be able to go home and do what it is that we need to do. But if
Yep.
we're just here, the rat race of 9 to 5, and I'm not disputing 9 to 5 for anyone. But what I'm saying is, if we can find means to establish ourselves in ways that we haven't done before, we can better assist home. But it comes with network. If I have a business here, like I have a healthcare business in California, non-medical healthcare business in California, I can better assist another person looking to set that up,
Yep.
in their state. And again, that's through the network. So what I'm trying to form is healthcare folks going to have conversation with non-healthcare folks. If they've established a business, how do I establish business? People who are in finance. Anyway, I'm still putting it together. But my goal here is to ensure that we are actually, helpful with each other in spreading our skills and also advancing ourselves to better establish what we need to establish it to go home to help move our country forward in the direction that we wish to have it go. Let's see. There's a comment. Without unity, we have nothing. We need to learn self-love. Yes, absolutely. If Jesus is white in Africa, how can you see yourself in God's plan? We have been taught to hit ourselves, and that's rhetorically or figuratively speaking. If Jesus is white, if we feel like Jesus is the savior, or the white man is the savior in Africa, how then can we, that's pretty much what I think this person is saying. Can you address that?
Well, I don't think most people in Africa are looking at the white man as being the savior. They are not looking at that. They are looking more about um, system rather than individual. We come to America, we learn the system of check and balance. We learn the system of the separation of church and the state. We learn all these things about minimum wage, economic prosperity. So we are not looking at an individual. We are
But
looking.
when you talk about foreign investments, right? And then when you say something like, it's not realistic for Africans to move this place, isn't this comment also speaking to that?
No, I mean, when we talk about foreign investors, we are not just looking at the white man. Africa, America, so to speak, as the point of reference, we have the conglomeration of different race. I gave you a story that happened. It was on 2020. It was a black, an African American that went to Liberia that was duped by this Liberian that is currently in jail because he was an investor, went to go invest in a diamond mine. And we heard that story on 2020. And the brother is now in jail. So when we talk about foreign investors, it is not limited to the white man. It would be naive to think that the white man is indeed the answer to the issues of problems in Africa. No, we
We
have black
also
investors.
agree that we also then agree that alleviating foreign aid for again this literally speaking, if you alleviated that from the conversation, black folks can actually take on, again realism, can actually take on these projects and or move the country forward.
Yeah, there's no disagreement about that. If we come to look for black investors, we look for black investors. There are a lot of black investors over here. There are a lot of black billionaires that you have to sell your project to them. You have to be that used car salesman. We got a lot of people here. We have billionaires, millionaires that are waiting. So if you want to limit yourself to just the black based on race, which of course I disagree, because Martin Luther King said you have to judge someone according to their the content of the character, not the color of the skin. So when I go into issues with negotiation in terms of foreign investors, I'm not looking at the color of the skin. I'm looking at the character. I'm looking at making research about that investor, whether he's legit, whether he's trustworthy, whether he possesses those ingredients that are inculcated into a staunch leadership and a good business practice. Those are the things that I'm looking at. I'm not looking at your color of your skin. And so this is something that we need to divorce ourselves from. That the white man, black man. No. Let's look at, regardless of race, let's look at the character of that individual. Can they deliver what we want?
The
And after
concept,
making our research,
the
they come
concept
to a conclusion.
the concept that a white man would save Africa is very rampant within our community, and that's what this brother referenced. That we have to have the confidence that we can provide these. We can provide economic stability. We have to believe that we can manufacture and produce our own. We have to believe that we have these skills to move our various countries forward, or perhaps even the continent forward. But the fact that we have to rely so much on white man, whatever it is, I'm quoting here, is not an illusion. It's something that people often say, because then people, people like our people from our place, our country, like, oh well, we need foreign aid to do this. We need foreign aid to do that. When realistically, we do have resources that can allow us to do what we need to do. Is it that we don't believe in ourselves?
And you know the answer. The system we have is indeed corrupt. When you have corruption in a system, how will you progress? That's the problem. Yes, we are capable of being self sufficient, but we have to look at those ills and eradicate them. In the absence of those things, we are doomed for failure. That's the problem. We don't have check and balance. We have to get rid of the corruption. We have to become a realist. This is not good. We have to set an example and let the masses know, if you find in corruption, this is the consequence of your action. And then we can have that trust in that person to know that, yes, He's given a task, he will deliver.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, people come in, they have their hidden agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to take the ills out of society and replace them with the positivity that will yield what we call a success. Until then, we cannot gain that. We just can't. So we have to take that out of society. And there are stories upon stories upon stories. And most people, even you say we hate to go into the political aspect of it, but sometimes you can divorce yourself from the political applications. You look at your country today, you look at a person making $50 or $40 a month, but look at their leaders in the Senate that making 15,000 a month or 13,000 a month. They don't care about the country. They care about themselves. If you care about your constituency, you care about your people, take yourself out of it. Structure, create a system that will elevate them. And what is that system? Educate them. Bring about minimum wage. These foreign investors come in. This is my minimum wage for my people. $4 or $3 or $5 an hour. That will help them. That will help elevate them. You see the problem with the Zogos, as they call them. There is no hope. No hope for them. So if we go in with the mentality of helping them, the government should create a minimum wage. And if these people making $4, $5, or $3 even an hour, and you have these investors, whether it's black, whether it is local, whether it is international, it provides an avenue of economic success for them, jobs. But look at the unemployment rate. Look at the income inequality. Yeah.
So if I'm getting clearly, the business then is just corruption, and this is why people rely on who they want to rely on, because corruption is really embedded in the system, and it's stopping progression of our people and our country, and that I 100% believe that it is still us that can change that, because if you look at voting, we put the people in power. Think about it. And so this needs to change in order to make decisions that are preferable for all of us. And by education, I'm not looking at formal education per se to say go sit in the classroom, learn quadratic equations and all of these things. I think some level of awareness and or being able to have a formed decision and based on not just where you are, because right now in our country there people are just doing things based on survival of the fittest. If this person can give me back a rice because I don't have food to eat, I'm gonna go vote for them. But not so much so looking at long-term repercussions in order to see what this person have done in order for me to go and vote for you, whatever it is. They're not relying on that, because my first thing is, how am I gonna eat? So if you come over there and provide me with rice and oil and everything, I'm gonna vote for you because that's my immediate need. And as with politics, you don't speak to, oh, what's going to look nice. You speak to the people's interest.
Yes.
That's what you speak to, and that is exactly what is going on. So whether, like I said, is to create awareness with our people on the ground, you are still making an impact in them making that conscious decision as far as who they're going to put in. Because like you said, most of our people are not patriots. We don't love the country. We only care about ourselves, and it takes us nowhere. But again, we need to find solutions.
Yes.
Oh, the comments are too much. My brain hurts. Let's see. Hi, Marwan. Hello, my community manager. I am Washington. I am watching from Indianapolis, and another person has same. That is irresponsible investment when you don't take into account the mistrust of past investment of African society from foreign investors that aren't African or black. Yeah, 7,600 fake nursing degrees indefinitely. It has caused so much hurt to Americans.
And that's just what we elaborated upon.
All right, there's another comment. What would it be? What would it? Now I need some water. Why would it be considered responsible to accept foreign in from foreign governments, IMF participants that have not proven trustworthy of operations in the past? Are you promoting to forgive and forget?
The IMF function is there to help government, especially developing and other underdeveloped government.
But if they're not proving trustworthy operations, are we looking to forgive and or forget that that's happening? That's the question this person's asking.
Well, I don't think it is a yes or no answer. We have to look at the function of the IMF. The IMF, they have their own, negativity, but as a whole, it is left with the country, because when the IMF present, they do their own feasibility study, and they present whatsoever aid that that particular country wants. It is the country that use that money for that particular purpose, and some of the countries do not because of the corruption. So you can just shift blame on one organization. You have to look at a totality. The government, the receiving government, also is at fault because they take this money and then we don't see the development that they said they were going to embark upon. And you come back to the point of the corruption in the middle of everything.
So if this would be my last question regarding this, okay? So if this is occurring and you see that there are corrupt practices, yes, still you continue to provide. Are you not enabling, or are you not saying it's okay for corrupt practices to continue to occur? Is that
That's why when you put into perspective a system, first of all, when you pointing finger to one person, couple of them pointing back to you. You have to do your in-house cleaning. Once you do your in-house cleaning, you get rid of those ills, and then you become self-sufficient. Yes, and you know that perhaps the IMF is biased in the way of operation. Yes, you can refuse to take money from them. But until then, you have to look at yourself. You have to do the same in-house cleaning. You have to take away all those ills from your system, because else you're not going nowhere. It will just be a circle of no return.
okay? So very good discussion here. As always, is to put things into practice. And as part of our Dear Liberian series that we've talked about on this here is collaboration, and also finding barriers and ways to overcome those barriers. As you identify barriers, ways to help alleviate and or put aside some of these barriers or solve the problem in order to get things moving. So my take here is, if you go to Liberia, or if you haven't gone to Liberia, it should be your obligation to say, yes, there are barriers to progress, or there are barriers to entry. I have to take things gradually in order to make an impact here. Your goal isn't to go identify barriers and then call John Brown and tell John Brown, no, don't go there, there's barriers. Or call John Paul and say, oh, I don't like that president, so don't go there and do business there. Or
Yeah.
don't mentor, don't teach, don't educate. It is not your responsibility to do so. Your responsibility is to assess and Tell yourself, it's my country. I need to be a patriot. If it even take me 10 years, I am still going to help the best way I can. That's the first thing. And the last thing is it's not a crime to collaborate with your Liberian sisters and brothers. Okay, if somebody is doing well more than you are in Liberia, or if you're from Liberia, hey, Mary Paul, how did you get to nursing school and you pass your NCLEX? How can I pass mine? Can you give me some tips? It is not a crime to ask and help. What is a crime is to be very envious and jealous and or say I can't go to that person because or I can't help that person because I don't want him to be better than me. It would take all of us to help. Therefore, collaboration at all times should be encouraged. So George, what is your last word for our folks?
Before I forget, to all of the women over there and to you, happy International Women Day. I'm very proud of what the work that you're doing.
Thanks.
I'm proud of most of the female who, enter into the limelight, um, showing their expertise in various areas of life.
Mm-hmm.
What I can say to my Liberian brothers and sisters abroad and back home would be the same thing that I said in my opening statement. You need to incorporate the saying of John F. Kennedy. Ask not what my country can do for me, but what I can do for my country. We must take away our selflessness, and we must focus towards 100% our country to ensure that we elevate that country from the state of degradation to a show of relatively calm. And that can only be done through collaboration, through realism, and through uprooting the ills that serve as an impedimental force. And that ills, as we all know, corruption, nepotism, partiality, tribalism, and you name them. With those structure put into play, you can rest assured Liberia will come back onto the map as the leading force, as they did back in the 1800s, as the light in darkness for all African countries as well as other continents to follow.
Thank you. It really has been a great pleasure speaking with you, getting your perspective. I encourage Liberians, non-Liberians, African Americans, or all of you who tune into this channel. Thank you for participating. And if you haven't taken anything from here, is to what? Be positive.
Thanks
All
for
right.
having me.
Thank you. Have a good one, everyone. Have a good evening. I am about to eat my food. Bye.
Thanks.